All right. Yes, we are live. All right. All of you freedom-loving boys and girls, whomever you are, wherever you are on this glorious blue marble we call Earth or Terra. Mark Centerline Systems, welcome to our live stream as we're starting May. Yeah, so we just had, what did we just have going on over the weekend? We had, Cinco de Mayo the other day. We had May the 4th be with you. We've got Mother's Day coming up around the corner. But tonight, I'm going to show off a couple little things, as always, as I kind of just like waste a little bit of time to see everybody, kind of people who can join in the live stream. I'm going to show a couple things here and ask you guys and gals a question. All you great guys and gals, I'm going to throw you guys under the bus, but it's funny. I mean it in a loving way. And then we're going to introduce our special guest, another small business owner. Name is Dustin from Ducks Heritage Cowboy Boots. We'll be bringing him on here in a second. He's in the ready room, just kind of waiting. We got Gene from across the pond saying, woo, already. Nice to see you, Gene. And then we've got Big Visk in the house, but you are intrigued. All right, so stay tuned right there. And here we go. So here's my question. So in one of the last live streams, I was talking about how I'm trying out a new handgun. I really don't like the holster. So when I'm going out and about, I've just been throwing it in my babs. So the badass bag is actually working pretty cool for a purpose I didn't really think of. It's kind of neat, right? It works for pretty well. But here's where I'm kind of giving you guys a hard time. So I've been wearing this 2 weeks straight. That's been my my concealed carry when I've been going out. So here was here's the thing that I don't like about it is the corners of the pocket flap. I mean, it's designed that way and the Velcro's there so it can fold up on the very top. Same with the gap pouch. And then that way you can have a quiet but still get into the pouch. But that flap, that excess piece has really kind of been bothering me the last couple of weeks. So I think what we're going to do going forward is, we're going to do that design flap. This is our belt pouch. That's our utility pouch. So for the babs and the gap pouch going forward, we're going to make this front pouch, that flap, now resemble that type of design that we use on a couple other products. Yeah, and there, Gene from across the pond. Yeah, it looks like it needs the corners cut. Yes, exactly, Gene. Like on my gap pouch, I never wore my gap pouches and over the shoulder, right? It was always up on my plate carrier or my rack, or, on my person, if I'm, or however, I just use it. I never use it over the shoulder, and that's got a straight pocket. So it worked perfectly fine there. But when this thing's over my shoulder, I don't like these corners. So corners verboten, no more. We're going to be going to these guys. So the gap and the babs is going to start having these corners going forward here. So stay tuned. If you are one of the people in the queue and you've got a babs or a gap, when I reach out to you, I'm going to be talking about these corners. And then last comment before we bring on our guest here. Yep, I'm at 3 minutes. I don't want to spend more than 5 minutes. All right, you ready for it? Here it is. We've got the final working. It's no longer a prototype. I'm going to actually start using this thing. I'll load it up tonight. And then for my personal health, for my hip and back recovery, I need to start doing a lot of walking. So two times a day, I'm going to walk with this thing on. I'm going to have it fully loaded. But here's our ruck. Right. So I don't have this loaded up, but this is the axe or shovel sleeve here in the front. You got Velcro on the top for your cool guy, tie down across the top. And then on the side tie downs, it's actually a bigger loop. So you could actually grab it that way if you wanted to. It's almost like a drag handle where it's another large place where you could put a larger S-beam or a carabiner. You could even put a chasm buckle on here if you wanted to, and then and have your gear. Both sides have the mount for mounting your mother canteen carry, your bottle, whatever you're going to put there, first aid kit. Shoulder straps, totally adjustable. But the other thing, I just couldn't help myself, but just kind of like my rucksacks in the military, there's a quick disconnect on the shoulder strap. So just, this thing isn't designed, and I hope you don't have a ton of weight in here, but if you're around water and you fall in, you want that ability to be able to shed it pretty quickly, right? So it doesn't suck you down and drown you. And then some Molly back here, and that'll be more explanatory, more obvious in the future. Imagine using malice clips and mounting this to your plate carrier. There, I could just say it that way, right? So I'm going to start putting this guy through some paces here, starting tomorrow. I'm going to load her up tonight. Right now, it's just got a blanket in it so you can see the kind of general shape of it, right? But yeah, I'm going to start loading that up, and I'm going to start walking with it for a week starting tomorrow. So just wanted to share that little Okay, let's just read some comments here, and then I'm going to introduce our guests. I think, yeah, okay, so Blake, or correction, Gene just said, looks like the corners cut. Yep, that's on the Babs and the Gap. Then we've got Gene, he wants it Nemesis. Oh, you are going to be my nemesis with that Nemesis. All right. But yeah, no, and I actually, Gene, I think because so many of my other products are so small, I think that you just don't get to see the pattern in it, the Nemesis. But on this, I think you really would be able to see the pattern. That would be really cool. John Williams, thank you, sir. He's saying sweet. And then Mick, I gotta like Mick's. It's cute. Thank you, Mick. That was very nice of you. It is cute indeed. All right, without further ado, we're going to bring on our guest. Really cool guy. Hope you guys enjoy. And as always, if you've got questions, send the question. I'll pop it back. I'll pop it up, and then we'll run it by Dustin. So without further ado, let's bring our guest to the stage here. Dustin, as always, good to see you. I was commenting before we went live on just how awesome your beard is. So if you don't mind, you can either tell everybody about your awesome beard or tell everybody about yourself and Ducks Heritage cowboy boots.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Mark. I do love your introductions. They make my day every time I hear them. My name's Dustin with Ducks Heritage Cowboy Boots. I'm in Central Texas, and I make custom fitted cowboy boots. Texas is real big on people wearing cowboy boots daily. So that's what I do. A quick example, just a boot that people wear typically if they have foot issues or something where store-bought boots can't fit them, they come to me, and I take measurements and I build a replica of their foot and then build the boot around it. And I guarantee my fit 100%. So I've been doing that for close to 20 years.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I really want to focus on that. Just that one of that, not only are you using great materials and everything, but that level of care and attention to detail. So I've had to wear boots, since so I joined the military when I was 17. So since 17 until, just a few years ago, boots, your feet, foot care really matters. And I had no problem going out and dropping $300-$500 on a great pair of boots, to carry me through the mountains or the deserts in some place where I was. So to Dustin, to your point, the fact that and the hardest thing, because you're just kind of saying it without saying it, I personally cannot order a boot online. There's just no way, right? So you measuring that or giving somebody that ability to, hey, let's mold your foot and make sure that this boot is as custom as your foot, because feet aren't the same, and a shitty boot manufacturer is really going to rock your world. And if your feet go down, you go down. So you want to add to that, right? Because that's what I've always loved, the fact that you actually can make the boot to the person's foot.
Yeah, and absolutely. And to add to that, even our 2 feet aren't the same. So, there could be a quarter or 3/8 variance between our sizes and our 2 feet. And it does make a difference. And for someone who's working on their feet all day, or they're on concrete all day, whatever the case may be, store-bought boots nowadays don't support your arch. So I do take the arch into consideration. So our feet are our foundations of our body, and proper arch support, really makes it to where you can wear a cowboy boot for 12, 16 hours straight. And if you're supporting the arch, things, and of course, I can never claim to be orthopedic or corrective, but if you support the arch, it takes care of a lot of issues that we have at the end of a long, hard work day. You get home, your lower back hurts, or your knees hurt, or your shoulders hurt. Really, even things like sciatic nerve problems, by supporting the arch and lining everything up the way it needs to be lined up, takes care of a lot of issues. 90% of the people out there can get away with store-bought boots, and that's fine. I don't want to make boots for those people. I want to make boots for the 10% who can benefit from the service I provide.
Yeah, no. Hey, and then on that note, so I don't know if you can see it in the phone, but I've got it already up underneath you. So that's how people can find you, right? So you're on Instagram and Facebook, correct? That's how they can, track you and contact you. And on Instagram, That's what I put up because I follow you on Instagram, right?
Yep.
That's it. Ducks Heritage Leather. So at Ducks Heritage Leather on Instagram. What about on Facebook? How can they find you there?
Facebook, it's the same. It's Ducks Heritage Cowboy Boots, or just my personal deal. I'm real slow on updating or putting current things on, but typically my personal page I keep pretty well updated. So
okay, so yeah, Facebook, and I forgot about that. Yeah, Facebook and Instagram, yeah, it's the same, same crap right there. So yeah, Ducks Heritage Leather. All right, that's where we can find you. And then we got one person making a comment I'm bringing up to you. So Gene says, Dustin, you are a true craftsman, and I would agree with it. And that's one of the reasons why. Yeah, if you haven't already been picking up what I'm putting down here for some of these lives, I really want to work hard to bring in just other great individuals. So Dustin, I think bought something from me, and we just started talking, and then did a podcast over on Mission Critical. Just a great all-around guy. And as Gene just was pointing out, a consummate professional, an actual craftsman. And, if there's a way we can help, use this limited platform, my limited viewership or whatever, but to get the names of other people up, because you don't know what you don't know, and if you've never heard of Dustin, and, maybe you've never even thought about cowboy boots, but here's a great place to start, because Dustin, his boots are made for walking.
And Mark, cowboy boots aren't just a Texas thing. People are
right
all over the country, and in fact, all over the world for that matter. And I do have a customer base that expands around the globe. So it's not just a Texas thing. I think cowboy boots have made such a fashion statement in the past, 30 years. I mean, it's remarkable. Everyone wears cowboy boots. So.
Well, and let's come back to that, because I think you're right. It is a little bit of a fashion statement. I know some people, we're up here in northern Minnesota. No offense to anybody who wears cowboy boots, but a cowboy boot when it's 60 below is probably not the boot you really want to be wearing. But there's people up here in northern Minnesota they've got their special cowboy boots, and that's like their kind of dress boot, or when they're going out and having dinner boot, and they take great care of them, and they're really proud. You know what I'm saying? So like it isn't just a Texas thing at all.
I think the whole spirit behind it, not only the spirit of the Old West, but maybe mostly that. I think, cowboy boots are meant to be rugged. It's not like it's an alpha male thing or anything, but I think cowboy boots are a reflection of, of who we are or where we came from. So.
Where we came from. Yeah. No, there is something uniquely independent about cowboy boots and how that fits into the whole American spirit. I mean, it just does.
Absolutely.
Hey, we got another question for you before we move on, and I'll pop this up here, and I'll read it in case you can't see it. But John, thanks for the question, John. He's asking, Dustin, do you offer exotic skins / leather? Do you have any,
Yeah, absolutely. So probably my best seller is ostrich. We consider ostrich an exotic. I do elephant. I do hippopotamus. If it's legal, if we can legally import it, then I'll make it, or it's available to me. I just had a real nice shark skin come in last week that I'll be making a pair of boots out of. So yeah, shark, hippo, kangaroo. Believe it or not, kangaroo is a wonderful boot leather. We consider it an exotic, I guess, because it comes from Australia. But I've made boots out of stingray. Try to stay away from the fish. There are some things that, morally, ethically, I wouldn't make boots out of. Sea turtle is a leather that was popular back all the way up till the 60s, and then we had an import ban on it, and that's never opened up. However, sea turtle boots are still being made in Central America or Mexico, but there's pre-ban leather available, and sometimes people own the leather and they come to me and they want me to make a pair of boots out of it. I don't see the hype in it. It's not any better leather than anything else. And honestly, I don't think we should mess with the sea turtles. Now, I'm not a tree hugger or a big environmentalist, but ethically for me, we shouldn't mess with the turtles. Elephant, on the other hand, that's always been an issue. We've gone through import bans, and then they open it up, and currently we can get elephant. So, elephants are, I think the term is gregarious, which they're like horses, or like humans, or like dolphins. We have memory. We can remember. We remember our dead. We have memory. You hear the term memory, like an elephant, because they'll recognize people from 20 or 30 years ago. Gregarious. That's, I guess, like herd mentality. Horses have it. Humans have it. But I can sleep at night knowing that the elephant leather I'm using was harvested ethically. So leather is a byproduct of the meat industry. All the leather we use is just a byproduct. So they have strict conservation in Africa. They have these big game preserves, and they're doing a real good job. The elephant herds are doing very good right now. So the leather that we're getting, my assumption is it's legal, but my assumption is these animals are culled out of the herd because maybe they're old, they're diseased, or maybe they're aggressive, and maybe they're hurting other animals in the herd, or hurting villagers or whatever. The elephant herds are very healthy right now, so I don't have a problem making boots out of elephant.
So, John, there you have it. So pretty much, and I like how you just did that, Dustin, and I wrote a note down. So, you were trying to say, hey, look, I'm not a tree hugger. And I almost interrupt you. I'm like, hey, if that's how you want to call it, like, look, I'm a conservationist, right? Whether you want to say I'm a but I'm a conservative, like, everybody gets that wrong. So I love how you just did that whole diatribe, because that's a conservationist perspective. If somebody wants to say that's a tree hugger, well, then, okay, whatever. I'm being a conservative. I'm being an adult. I'm trying to be a conservationist, and I want to have good, not just business practices, but morals and ethics. Yeah, if dolphin skin boots were really popular, I'd be one of the people saying, how in the hell could you be wearing the skin of a dolphin? I mean, like, that's like near sentient being right there,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like how you did that. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. John, I think that pretty much answered your question right there, John. But if you've got something specific besides dolphin skin, hey, here, I got one for you, Dustin, because it was May the 4th be with you the other day, that the Star Wars kind of homage thing. Hey, what about those little Ewoks? Because that's where Star Wars, or Jar Jar Binks, that's where Star Wars went to shit. Would you make a boot out of Ewok or Jar Jar Binks skin?
Jar Jar for sure. I couldn't stand him, and I think that was the worst character ever introduced. But yeah, Ewoks. Yeah, I'd make boots out of them.
Yeah, because like Ewoks were defeating Stormtroopers. It was just like that's where everything just started. The wheels were falling off. So yeah, I'm glad. So yeah, so if anyone out there, if you ever capture Jar Jar Binks, Dustin will make him into a pair of boots for you right there. So. Hey, we got one more kind of comment coming up along these lines. So Big Visk, I get that position into what you were just kind of talking about. Big Visk is saying he doesn't himself make gear or stuff, but I eat animals, and I won't eat an animal that I won't kill. So yeah. So very similar. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. If you're not willing to put it down and harvest that animal and then process it and then consume it, then, come on, man, that's just, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that as well. So I really like that. So yeah, whether I'm a tree hugger, I guess if that makes me a tree hugger, then so be it. I guess I'll wear that at that time. Hey, speaking of leather, maybe this is a good segue. We're at 19 minutes. We're trying to keep these at 30 to 40 minutes, so to speak. So we got plenty of time here. But because you talked about leather, could you maybe share with everybody just, so again, handcrafted, folks, like, what does that mean? How are you, as a craftsman, how do you go through that process? You and I were just talking machines. I don't know if you want to talk there, because so right before we started, Dustin just got a new sewing machine. And of course I'm geeked out about that. So we're talking about the capabilities, but you want to start somewhere in there, Dustin, of like, what kind of, because maybe somebody's like, oh, what does that even mean? Like, no, this is what it takes to make a handcrafted cowboy boot. Kind of see where I'm getting at.
For me, handcrafted, I mean, a sewing machine, you have to have eye-to-hand coordination. I mean, uh, I use sewing machines on everything, and it's still handcrafted. Someone has to operate the machine. Someone has to be proficient at operating it. I'm not going to hand sew. I'm too old to hand sew, and it takes too long. I guess if you start splitting hairs, I mean, hand sewing, it's not any superior to sewing machine, I don't think. But I'm trying to make a living at this. Sewing machines are like the what was the steam engine, the Eli.
Steam engine, yeah.
I'm thinking Whitney, Eli Whitley. What was it?
Eli Whitney or Whitney or something. Yeah, you're close enough. We can call it. I'll give you the category on Jeopardy. You got that one.
Yeah, but I'll use sewing machines. Yeah, it's still handcrafted. There's a lot of things that we do that are still better than factory made. In spite of even like sewing with the sewing machine, when I do top stitching, each line is still sewed one line at a time. So, you have to be proficient at the machine. I consider it handcrafted, handmade. I cut everything out by hand. I do all my patterning by hand. Obviously the measuring, making patterns, and so yeah, they're still handmade boots in spite of sewing machines. But so I just
just to say that, I mean, no, you have to have a sewing machine. You have to have a heavy duty industrial machine to do what you're doing, right? There are people who do sew by hand, but like on a boot or something, that's really thick. I mean, the layers that you have to punch through to create the channel that you're going to run your special needle through with that I guess you could say, well, that's truly handcrafted. But I think that's a completely different type of. That's more hell. That's not even artesian. That's something completely different. Yeah, you're using modern machines, just like I am. I've got grommet presses. I've got snap presses. I've got a couple different jukies. Binding. A little tool for doing your binding tape. A Box X machine. Yeah, you have to. I mean, that's handcrafted, because otherwise it would be you just sitting in front of the computer doing the CNC on a giant factory floor where it's all being. That's not handcrafted. What you're doing is handcrafted, and we were both wrong. And John just kind of chimed in here. No, he was the cotton gin. I think we may have said the steam engine. Yeah, that's where my brain was going to. But yeah, no, that's the cotton gin. And John probably got it because he wants to put cotton in his ears so he doesn't hear me anymore. And then he wants to drink a bunch of gin to get through the rest of this live stream. Maybe I'm not sure. Or say maybe Whitney wasn't maybe it was a completely different reference. But please continue. So again, handcrafted. So here, maybe I'll just start this way. With the exception of the initial contact and then figuring everything out with the customer and then doing the mold, or maybe you do want to talk about the mold. But then what does that process from start to finish look like, from your side of the house for your shop?
Yeah, so the whole process takes about a week, 40, 50-hour work week. And from the measurements, I have to make the last. The last is the mold of the foot. I have to size it, and then I have to make patterns for, their legs or calf measurements, ankle measurements. Once the patterns are made, I cut the leather. Basically, the leather gets sewn together. I sew all the pieces together. Cowboy boot is made inside out. And once the cowboy boot's built, I turn it right side out. And then I do a process called lasting, where I actually stretch all the foot leather around the mold, and I tack it down on the bottom. Then I have to sew in welts, I have to sew in shanks, and then soles, and then heels, and then inking and finishing. So the whole process takes about 40 hours on a relatively plain pair of boots. Something with a lot of embellishments or a lot of work like that, it could take 50 or 60 hours. So
yeah, so it's not mass produced China. Hey, Dustin, I called you yesterday and placed my order. How come it's not here already, sir?
Yeah, I'm booked a year and a half out. So if someone were to order a pair of boots today, well, I'm quoting September, October of 2025. So,
Yeah.
but orders are really slowing down. Boot orders. I bet Mark in the past since the first of the year, I've probably only taken maybe 3 or 4 orders, and so that worries me, and it makes me concerned for the future. Uh, with that being said, I had to do some diversification, and
Hey,
uh,
before you go down that road, I just want to kind of just make a quick little side note. Look, this isn't, there's nothing political about this. Like, you can make some political commentary about it if you so desire, but at the end of the day, if you want to argue the causal roots behind it, but the economy has been sucking since about 2019, 2020, right? So if you're a small business owner, or if you're part of a company and you are in the books, or you're part of the ordering process, you know exactly what we're talking about. Price increases, the delays in material, some material no longer being able to be purchased, and you got to do this, you got to do that. So, the economy needs to turn the F around. And I think we all know that and all realize that. And we better do it quickly because, someone says, oh, it couldn't get any worse. I'm like, oh, don't say that out loud. It could get worse. But yeah, to your point right there, I hear you and I feel, brother, like, yeah, the economy is not the same as it was back in 2018, 2019 at all. Yep.
well, the sad thing about my product is you have to consider what we do, Mark. Luxury items. People don't need to buy my boots. They can go to the store and buy a $200 pair of boots that will last them a year. But what I'm finding out is I'm relying on people's disposable income to make a living, and currently, I'm right now, and anyone who's listening knows exactly what we're talking about. Our disposable incomes are now going toward groceries,
Yep.
gasoline, uh, raising insurance. I mean, everything's going up. And so the orders have certainly slowed down for me. I did take on another project, and I just thought it was necessary for my future. If I was going to make the boot portion of this survive, I took on a large production job where I'm making basically like a little notebook sort of wallet, and I had to go through the bidding process, and I had to make samples. And let me add that I'm a one-man shop. I do the whole boot making process by myself, from measuring the person's foot to handing them the finished boot. So it's a real personal experience, but I'm the only one who touches them. Now, I've got to do a good job at being friendly. I've got to do a good job at making a connection with my customers, because, well, if they don't like me, they're not going to want to buy my boots. So, I try to make that go as smooth as possible. Now, the point that I was trying to make, I was a one-man shop, so I saw the need to diversify, and I brought on this mass-produced still leather mass-produced job where I'm making these little notebook covers, and I've got 25,000 of them to make. So we won the bid, and within Mark, since you and I did the last podcast, I've brought on 4 employees. I've added equipment. I'm responsible for doing payroll, and we are crushing our goals. We're shipping them out. In fact, we shipped out 3,000 pieces on Friday, and we're back at it again today. And so I've got another goal coming up in 30 days that we'll meet. And so what it's done for me is it's allowed me to make a little bit more extra money. I was able to expand my business. I'm able to provide a job for 4 people, and I can still work on cowboy boots while they're working on that. So I hate calling it this, but it's, except for the sewing, it's basically an unskilled labor. It's assembly, and then but you have to train someone to sew. But anyway, it's just opened up other things for me, and I'll have another chance to rebid this when this contract's up, and maybe even add some more customers. So it's wonderful. Very happy with it.
So that, I think, we kind of talked about this, and maybe this is a good place to kind of like move it on out and on. Well, actually, let me come back to it real quick. Let me just read some of the comments. I don't know if you saw some comments that come in. So we've got Big Visk was saying, the economy is shit. Hopefully it turns around before you run out of orders. But then, what you just said, you're just supplementing. So you're doing 2 things here. So you got plenty of boots to do. We got C Saline with all that level of skill and knowledge. I'd call that handcrafted all day long.
Thank you.
Yes. And hey, and no, I got to be totally honest, full disclosure, that's my lead sewer talking right there. She's got like, she's been sewing since before you and I were, a twinkle in our parents' eyes. So, so that's a real crafts person giving you some props right there. So that's awesome. And we got Big Visk. Yeah, man, when food doubles and income doesn't, disposable income vanishes. Right the hell on. That's exactly it, Big Visk. And then the last comment that we had when you were talking, Gene from across the pond, woo, well done for employing people and growing. And that is kind of where that's a matter of fact, that couldn't have been, thank you, Gene. That was the perfect segue to come back over to Dustin for this end. Because when you're doing what you're doing, Dustin, and I'm going to say the same for me, and you're sticking to your guns, and here's your quality, and here's your craftsmanship, you're working with other like-minded individuals and other like-minded companies. And, that might not really fall into the category of community, but it sure as hell is, because it's other businesses supporting other businesses at that local, state, and national level, type of thing. So do you see how, throughout negative times, so we could, shit sucks right now, but you could either just sit and, grouse about it, or you could get off your butt and try to figure something else up. That's what Dustin has just said. And then now, Dustin, so like that has got to make you feel good and feel proud of what you're doing. But then also, does that, or am I just stretching it? Is that kind of also community based? Is that all part of, finding another group of individuals, whether they're, your coworkers now or another customer base?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is bringing on another customer base, people that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to deal with prior. Having employees, I tell every single one of them, I was in business for 26 years before I started Cowboy Boots. I know you've got to make people feel appreciated. If you let someone know that they're appreciated, they work harder. That's all there is to it. If they don't feel appreciated, they're going to loaf off. They're going to call in sick or whatever. And I tell my people that I've had one with me 2 months, and the other 3 have been with me for just a little over a month. But I tell them that, hey, look, first of all, I'm not your boss. You're working with me. I'm working with you, and we've got a goal, and we're gonna complete the goal. But I tell them, I need you to know that I can't do this without you. You can't do it without me. We need each other, and so you're not working for me. We're working together. And I think by taking that approach with them, I don't look over their shoulders. I show them the task, or I teach them the task that needs to be done. And I tell them, if you can think of a better way, please tell me. I'm not the smartest tool in the shed. And if you can think of something better, then we'll go with it. And so they're participating in the process also. Yeah, they're like family to me. They're not employees, or they're family. And a month ago, 3 of them I didn't even know, so now one of them has a key to the shop to get in. So I feel like small business, America, and I know someone said from across the pond, I don't recall his name, not only America, but this is just the human nature. I think, and I won't get into politics, but capitalism, the premise behind capitalism. So what I believe is small business is the backbone of America. And believe it or not, one day Sam Walton, a long time ago, Walmart, he was a small business. And so, everyone starts out small, and but the opportunities that we come across allow us to expand and get larger and larger. So, Mark, I don't want to be a multi-billionaire. I just want to be comfortable, and I want to provide a good service for my customers. And when I'm dead and gone, hopefully my boots will still be around. I want people to say, "Wow, he made a good boot."
I just want to echo just so many of the great things you said, and taking it from the back, and from what you just said and working backwards. That's never been my goal either. I don't want to be, I'm not looking to be the next, North Face or Columbia. Back in 2019, 2018, 2019, I could have hired, between 3 and 5 people. My ultimate goal is what you just said. Same thing. I've got a shop where it's maybe 7 or 10 of us, and they're not my employees. That's my new family. Like you said, we're all in this together, because one of the things, I don't know if you heard me laugh when you were talking about, because somebody else might know how to do something different. Like, I call it the soda straw, right? You just get stuck looking down your own soda straw because that's what you're used to, or you've never experienced something. So you don't know how to really expand your horizons and think about, you can't even really think about the problem if this is the first time you've ever done work with your hands or try to solve that problem. And as you well know, and I'll just throw myself under the bus, even when you've been doing something for a long time, you got to have that fresh set of eyes and another mind. And you want to create and foster an environment where people can talk about that, so you go from, this is what we went from, like making it way more difficult, like, taking 2 smaller pieces and sewing them together and then doing this. And then after like 6 months, somebody finally says like, hey, why don't we just make 1 4-inch piece? It's like, God dang it. Why did I think, it was so obvious you didn't think of it. So that is part of that community. And that's what's awesome, that, what you're doing and bringing in and providing jobs for more people. And they're not just, wage slaves and stuff like that. They're a part of your team. They're helping you crush it.
And again, not trying to get into politics or geopolitics, but small business, I guess the word she used is entrepreneurship. After the bombs drop and the dust settles and there's a rebuilding, it's entrepreneurs who make things happen, who grow nations, who grow countries. So it's about supply and demand. If you supply a service or a good to someone, they're going to buy it, and their life will be better because they're using your product. So,
well, and then just my final kind of closing note on that. See, again, I still think that turns into community, right? And the small business, that entrepreneur, that is helping to shape that community. And maybe that community, again, so I'm thinking of some of my distributors. I even if like somebody came up to me and said, hey, Mark, I can get you that same thing for, $5 less a yard, I'm still going to stick with those guys because I've got that relationship. That's the guy who's going to help me out when I need a break or
right.
Yeah. So, and that's all that community building. And that really does take place. And people don't think about that. Here, I'm wearing it right here. Marshall Hardware Store. Totally didn't think about this. Totally not scripted. The best hardware store I've ever seen in my life, family owned. And that's not, you're not going there. These guys help you and they know everything. When you walk in, there's somebody like who is like now your personal assistant, like walking you around, like talking, and they know what they're doing. If you go into the big box stores that do that kind of stuff, that have hardware, there's no one there who helps you, and half the people don't know it. These are guys like, oh, you're doing a plumbing project? Hang on, let me get Peter. He knows more about this. Oh, you're doing something with Windows? Okay, let me get Susie because she's running our glass cutting store. And it's just a huge community, and it's and it's the place you want to go. Yeah. Could I go and get, another battery for my drill, my portable drill? Could I get that $5 cheaper from the big place? Yeah, I probably could. But why in the hell would I ever do that? Because none of those guys know what you're trying to hang something from sheetrock. What is sheetrock? And I'm not disparaging them, but what I'm saying, I'm speaking in generalities here. But so I really like what you're doing, and I didn't know about that other portion, you know, until just recently, but I think that's just further proof, and that makes you you. That's why you're such a great guy, and I wanted to get you on here so people could find out about your boots. And can you talk about this other product, or you like would they find that, Dustin, or is that something that is, you know, I guess I should have asked you about that beforehand.
So I had to sign a no compete deal.
I apologize. Yeah.
No, it's what it is. It's a product that a nationwide, in fact, up in your part of the country, a big nationwide company gives to its clients. They're like freebie items that it gives to people who use their, and it's got their logo on it. And
but see that right there, even if it's a larger company who's, you know, this is still community to me. It's somebody from, you know, found out about you, you were part of the process, and they're supporting another maybe smaller business. Your handcraft, your quality and your craftsmanship is now going out and helping that company with its clients. So yeah, I think that's still community, hands down right there. Hey, we're at 40 minutes. I always do run a little bit long. I want to give you the final comments on your side, and then I'm going to do a quick outro. But what final thoughts or information or advice would you like to leave with everybody before we sign off here tonight, sir?
Well, I'm going to expand on this product one more time, and I'm sorry for going back to it. But the reason I came about is because this product was made overseas. And when COVID happened, they were having a hard time getting the product shipped over here. The logistics of boat or air travel, whatever the case may be, and they weren't meeting their deadlines, their products. So someone had the idea, let's get them made in America, and so that's how it came about. But I think in closing, I'm learning so much about business and small business, and the whole employee deal is new to me. But if you do employ people, I will say this again, make them feel appreciated. Everyone's got different personalities. Not all the personalities mesh all the time. I go out and buy my people ice cream 2 or 3 times a week and just put ice cream in the freezer. And I'm like, hey, let's take a break, eat some ice cream. I mean, whatever it takes. But I think making people feel appreciated, not just in business, but honestly, our marriages, our spouses, our kids, if they feel appreciated, they'll go the extra mile. And I'm not saying that to manipulate anyone. I mean, it's like, well, if I'm nice to them, they'll do this for me. No, it's just really about being a good human being towards someone else, you know.
And if you're going to spend that much time with each other, and you know you're trying to make products, and you know, and you got to have the machine, yeah, you would want better relations. You know, you don't want your family to be fighting with each other all the time. You want your family unit to be working smoothly. I mean, I think that's pretty well said and pretty fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Entrepreneurship. I mean, if you have an idea, you know, you can fail 100 times, but that one time that you succeed, that's the one that'll start it all. And you know, I was afraid of failure. I've always been afraid of failure, so I always took the easy route. I always took the route that was going to guarantee successful results. But you read any self-help book or any book by motivational books, and all these guys say, and it's the truth though, you got to take some risk, because if you don't take any risk, and this whole thing is a risk for me, the notebook covers, even custom cowboy boots, you know, when I started this, I didn't know if I was going to get any business or not. It's all a risk. And I make a living, and it's, you know, I make a comfortable living. I mean, we're not going on vacations to Hawaii once a year, or, well, we're not going on any vacations to Hawaii. we do local vacations. You know, my pickup truck's 10 years old. It's got 180,000 miles on it, but it's mine. It's paid off and it runs good. But risk, you've got to take risk, and sometimes they don't pay off, but man, when they do, it feels good. So
right on, my good man, right on. Hey, I'm going to just stall for a second to give anybody one last chance. And I apologize. There is a delay. If somebody's got any last minute question or comment, I'm going to just stall for just a couple seconds here. I've missed it one or two in the past because I just come in after I've already ended the stream. But I do just want to point out one more time. Thanks to everybody who is, in the chat making comments. Thanks to John for pointing out the cotton gin. Yeah, we had that one wrong. But everybody knew what we were talking about. I mean, for the most part. So definitely really appreciate everybody, joining on the live streams. One last little piece of housekeeping. So Thursday's episode, that is the kind of announcement episode for the charity auction. I should have everything set up on the website. And I'll go over all that stuff Thursday. And we've got another guest coming in, another small business owner, as a matter of fact. So, and he's going to help me kind of like talk about the charity auction and kind of what Dustin and I just talked about. Even when you think you're running a business, there is some community there. There is a basis and a way that you can and can promote community. So Dustin, I really appreciate you coming on and being with us here tonight. And there one final comment came in, and I think that'll be a good way to end it. 45 minutes, that's okay. Gene from across the pond, from over in the UK. Woo! Thank you, Gene. Just saying to us, I don't know if you see it. Thank you for a great stream tonight. I appreciate your time. Thank you for everybody who's chatted and made comments. Dustin, any last little goodbyes or final words?
Thank whoever watches this, thank you. I do appreciate it. So Mark, I appreciate you. You're doing a great thing, and we're all going to grow this community. It's about helping each other out.
Yeah, and then one last time, you can just see it. I just put it up on the screen. So that's his Instagram handle, Ducks Heritage Leather on Instagram. And he's also over on the other side of Instagram, Facebook or Faceplant or whatever that thing is called, Meta, whatever. It's all part of he's part of the Meta. See, that's his community. He's part of the Meta universe. Facebook and Instagram. That's, you can find, see some really cool pictures of some of the kick-ass handcrafted boots this man is. You can just sit there. It's like looking at, honestly, Dustin, that would be like a cool coffee book. Because it is. It's just like, oh, look at that. You're looking at works of art, man. It's really cool. I really like that. So there it is. You just made a Instagram is now your new coffee table book for looking at cool stuff. So thanks for coming on. And if you don't mind, just hang on a second, because even when I end it, we can still talk in a couple seconds. So thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks to Dustin for coming on, taking the time away from his busy life. We'll see everybody again on Thursday. Thursday's live stream, charity auction. Blake from Fog Firearms is going to be on. And on that note, the deal. Reach out anytime. If you got questions, comments, I'll do the best I can to help you out. Even if you got a question for somebody who's been a guest, I can always reach out or push you in their direction so you guys can connect. And if you don't remember how to get in touch with Dustin, but thanks for everybody. Really appreciate it. And as always, keep thinking, keep moving, never quit. All right, everybody, be good.